Hey, welcome to another episode of Glass Half Full with Ty and Jen. We have another amazing episode for you today. Very powerful one. Today we're touching on interracial relationships, the do's, the don'ts, the perks, and hopefully we'll tell you some things that you may need to hear just in case you're actually thinking about it, getting into one or in one, and need some things that will actually help you out to move forward and with that relationship.
So I'm doing the disclaimer part, and I'm just letting you know that there may be some feelings hurt today. Do apologize. We're not out to hurt anyone. We're just out to give some clarification, some knowledge, and share our experience that we're having. Maybe
Which is a wonderful experience.
It is. We have a lot of great experiences. So we're going to talk about some dark and stormy stuff.
Right.
And it's going to get pretty, and we'll be discreet. Like I said, we're not out to hurt anybody's
light
feelings.
at the end of the tunnel.
And then we're going to hit the rainbow.
Right.
So, so the first thing I want to bring up, because we're just going to rip the Band-Aid off, is time and time again, you have been told that you hate your race, you hate your culture, you hate black women. As of a couple of weeks ago, you had somebody post on your page and said, "What do you expect?" We looked up your bio and we seen who your wife is, and we would expect nothing less of you to be a race trading, black women hating. It was rough. So I know that I take it more to heart than you do, but enlighten us, because we're in love.
Right.
How do you feel about black women?
I love black women. I do. Saying that, I have to. I mean, it's my nature. It's just part of me. Like I'm a mama's boy. Let my wife tell it. Which I do love my mother, and it's just all come with the essential parts of that when it comes to your mother, your sisters, grandmother, aunts, all that great stuff. And it just, to hear someone say that, it's like, did you ever take an account to that? Just because, we may have differences on who, we choose to love, who we choose to have sex with. I'm
not going to say choose, because, it just happens. Sometimes we don't choose. Growing up, I never thought I'd be in an interracial relationship. And here I am. Who knew? So, it just happens.
Yeah, it happens. So you never know who you're going to fall
There you go.
and love with. So, and saying that, it's a weight that, no man or anybody, when it comes to you making the decision on who you want to be with, should have to go through, because you never know, you may miss your soulmate, or that person that really wants to be there and and do those things for you as a companion. But just to hear it's outlandish. One of the most stupidest things that I've ever heard. It doesn't take you away from your culture. It doesn't take you away from the people you love. It doesn't take you away from the barbecues. It doesn't take you away from any of that stuff. Everything's regulate the same, especially if you and that person together are on the same sync. That means you're going where they're going where you're going. That person knows what they were getting into when they signed up for it. That person knew what they got into when they fell into it. So you knew what you were getting into. So and the things that come with it. So there is no hate there. There is no drama, anything is your mama beat you or something like that. Somebody didn't know. It's just sometimes when it came down to me, it came that it was something different. It was something that I seen that enlightened me, intrigued me, and I wanted to actually try it out, just to see what it was about. No strings attached to it.
So growing up, I was very fond of dirty blonde. I didn't like the platinum surfer boy blonde. I like the dirty blonde hair and either blue or green eyes. I'm partial to blue eyes. I got blue eyes. And that's what I was partial to. I made him a drink. Anyway, that was my
I was checking the color of my eyes. I like trying to see what.
But that doesn't mean that because that's what I was partial to, that if you had red hair, or brown eyes, that I hated you. I was just partial to that because I thought that was very beautiful. Mm-hmm. Then I come down here, I move down here, and I get to experience a whole nother culture. And I fell, this sounds like so cliche, corny, but I fell in love with the black culture. It's fun. I had a great time. My very first black friend was Carla Harris. Met her at school, and she was such a joy. And anytime I talk about when I first had my first real experience with the black culture, I always talk about Carla because she was so amazing. But we're talking about attractions, we're talking about relationships. So my thing that intrigued me was cheekbones. The culture has such beautiful, beautiful cheekbones. I love the cheekbones. And my husband has beautiful cheekbones. I love it. I love that little piece right there. The muscle structure. So just because I fell in love with that, I fell in love with the features, I fell in love with the glow, doesn't mean that now all of a sudden I hate the blue-eyed or green-eyed boy.
I was always like, just growing up, I always wanted to be like 007. Not like that. What I mean is like international guy that I knew different languages, and I always wanted to see different things and, you know, try stuff new. So it was like when it came to dating outside my culture, it wasn't something that was bad to me. It was something that I wanted to experience. I'm a guy I like to learn. I like to, hate to say it in this manner, I like to experiment with things just to see, you know, where it would go or how it will, you know.
How the experiment gone wrong.
how it will intrigue me. And fortunately, I was, you know, greatly intrigued on that part. But I remember when you said that you loved the culture, and just a little history fact. Do you know that when they came over, when was it the Pilgrims or so? When they came over, they actually started making laws in the villages to keep the people in the villages, because when they first got here, that they met the indigenous people here and they loved the culture so much that they were running away from the villages and stuff. So
they wanted to go be and hang out with the indigenous people. They were having a great time.
They wanted to go to the barbecue.
They wanted to go do the rain dance, put on some war paint, have a good time.
Dance on war paint.
Take
barbecue.
The beautiful makeup there. But no, I did. I fell in love with the culture. I had such a great time, and I had grown up in a very rural area. So it was a whole different ball game than this is down here. So it took me on a roller coaster of experiences that I had such a great time in. Now,
when she say about the area she grew up in, that saying like pretty much.
My nearest neighbor was 4 mountains over and was a cousin.
When we went to go visit up there, they knew we were up there because I was there. So,
my uncle got a phone call. Well, Jenna Lee in town?
Which was so funny to me. It was like, which I'm active. I like to run. I like to jog. So I was actually out, you know, doing my jog. And I get back to the house. Everybody's face is in there red. She's balling out laughing. I'm like, what did I miss? What the hell is going on? And I'm like, one of the neighbors just called Uncle Richard. And he's on the phone and said, Richard, how you doing? He said, hey, how you doing there? And it's like, Jenna Lee must be back in town. And he said, yeah. Yeah, she is. But what made you figure that? Because there's a colored guy running through the neighborhood. Like,
Mind you, the neighborhood is a 15-mile stretch of a 2-lane highway with maybe 40 houses on it. And the neighborhood, he was running through the neighborhood.
and to me, it was a good thing because I was up in a neighborhood to where I was the only one there, and I was actually, running, and everything was great.
Yeah.
Good, great people, great, honestly, great people, great people.
Everybody waved when they went by him.
Yeah, they waved everything.
And then they called Uncle Richard.
Is he safe? I don't bite.
Well, not them anyway. But anyway. But, that kind of leads us into the next portion of it, because we just talked about not hating what we once thought was beautiful, or not hating where we came from. But that kind of takes us into the next question or the next comment, because I grew up totally different. And so my ideal of what religious love, agape love, I had a vision of it, but it's hard to get a vision of something if you've never been exposed to
the whole spectrum.
Yeah.
Right, I understand how you say different because, growing up here in Florida where I grew up at, there was just a melting pot of everything. There was nothing that was missed. It was like everybody's here. Who's missing? There was nobody missing. Black, white, Chinese, Japanese, Asian, whatever you want. It was here.
On my hand, there was one person that my father went to seminary school with, and when my father graduated when I was 4, I don't remember seeing him after that. And other than that, I seen out of a class of 200, I had moved away to a little bit bigger town, and
Had 5 more people.
really, Tyrone. There was out of a class of 200, we had a young black man come and join our class, and it was very odd. I didn't know how to talk to him, and not that I was trying to, nothing like that, but I didn't know like what to say, how to say. It was very different. It was very odd, and not to embarrass anyone, but back when you first met my family and the little ones, what did they want to do? They wanted to touch you. They wanted to touch your skin. They wanted to touch your hair. Right. Because it wasn't, and I know it sounds crazy and it sounds so racist, and I'm so sorry. But it's the, and I hate to use the word ignorance.
I had a lady at a concert
but that was here in Florida.
Touch my afro and just looked at me. She was like, and I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, bucket list. So
we went to a Brantley Gilbert Kid Rock concert, and that was a good night. That was fun. So sometimes it's not that you're not trying to be have agape love for people, but if you don't know, and I truly didn't know that I had a barrier. I didn't know, which is why we're doing this, because maybe you're one of those people who have said, well, because he's with her, he has to hate himself, he has to hate his mother, he has to hate black women. Maybe you don't know that you're in that barrier, and that's why this conversation is really important.
Because we were raised to love people. There wasn't any,
and I was raised to love people.
Confrontation about black or white. Because, if it was, we didn't know because we wasn't raised around the adults to hear anything like that. Can
I tell the word meaning thing that I did? Is that appropriate for this or no?
I guess you'll remind me as we go because I'm kind of off of what.
So back home, when, and like I said, this is all about being in ignorance.
Okay. We're learning. We're here to learn. We're here to experience. We're here to get raw.
So back home, if somebody was to call someone and say that, that cotton picker down there, that meant that he's a very poor farmer, that he didn't have a lot of money. He wasn't a rich man. He wasn't wealthy on his acreage. And so it was a common phrase. You cotton picker, ya. Now, I was raised in a free state. I'm just saying. Sorry, bad joke. But anyway.
No. Listen. I'm saying. I just know. I mean, we're human. We know the artist. When you said cotton picker, your first thing hit mind is somebody out there with the burlap pants, bent over with a bag.
But that wasn't what we seen. Because what we seen when somebody said that was someone who probably had really dirty jeans. Their water pipes had probably bust in the winter. And they didn't have running water until the spring. So, they were boiling water. True story. We won't even go. That's a whole nother episode about going through that. But
I just want to ask a question. Just cotton picker, was it the equivalent of?
No, it just meant that you were very poor.
Okay.
It meant that you were very, very poor, that you didn't have the finances to do anything. So, like when the one family, and I'm not trying to be funny.
I'm just thinking cotton was a high commodity. That was like gold.
We had a family and their water pipes busted and the ground was frozen for weeks.
Ooh.
And they couldn't afford to fix it because they didn't have the finances for it, and they weren't able to fix their water until spring. And I was a young girl when that happened, and I remember people talking. And mind you, I'm in an all-white town of 300 people, and that was the term. It was the cotton picking family over there. They just couldn't afford it. It also meant that was just. Probably it was just a sorry person and just didn't want to get up off their laurels and do some work.
Understood.
Now understand something now. Here's the other thing. It also represented a very lazy person. So if you were very lazy, and as I learned once I moved down here, picking cotton was not a lazy thing. Now, dummy me don't know. So here comes my ignorance. I'm all of 13, 14 years old. I'm in a circle of 13, 15, 16 black people. Somebody told a funny joke. My dumb ass. You cotton picker, ya? When I tell you, the radio stopped. When you hear the DJ go skirt and on the dead silence. I'm the only one laughing. I'm also the only white person. I'm the only one laughing. Hi, Dumplings visiting us.
Shit get different when you get south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
They didn't give you the book.
No, they stopped and they said, "What did you say?" And I repeated it. I repeated it several times because I was just rolling because what they had said was hilarious and I was busting a gut. And they were looking at me like, I cannot believe this white girl is sitting here and done said this to us.
And she done told us she's from the country.
So now I chill out and I'm like, what's going on? I don't understand. Like, why is everybody so serious? Why did the record scratch when I said this? They told me to say it slow, and I did. And I said it a couple more times. And I'm like, I don't get it. By now, I've probably said it about 20 times. And they're looking at me like, this heifer's crazy. Then they told me what it meant down here. I was in utter tears. I instantly just went to crying and weeping because I could not believe that I had said that I had disgraced somebody because it wasn't brought up that was a disgraceful thing to say, nor was it a racial barrier. It was never brought to my attention like that. And it was something very natural that flowed. So when I talk about being ignorant in the lines that
Right.
you may or may not cross, or that you're saying, or that I was ignorant. I didn't know.
I understand that because, like, I'm gonna jump to
No, you're good.
to another question, but before I get to that question, it's gonna kind of lead into it. Leaving what you're talking about, because I've heard I heard a lady some past time talk in that manner when she was saying how she was raised and how she I'm sorry, when she said how she was raised, it was the red birds don't deal with the bluebirds. The red birds stay with the red birds, the bluebirds stay with the bluebirds. I got it. I understood what she was saying, but I'm like, motherfucking bird. On that part. But hearing that someone, I mean, to hear someone raising their children, when it comes that you already indoctrinate them. You're already letting them know, like, there is a difference, which there isn't. Because, I mean, if there was a difference, you wouldn't be able to reproduce and have kids, and your kids have kids. Like, I mean, yeah, you could you could make a horse with a donkey and make a mule, but the mule can't reproduce. But these Milano mule kids are still producing, and so obviously it works. So like I said, it was the craziest thing I ever heard. Red bird, blue bird, I mean, we're all the same anatomy. And when it comes to race, I have a hard time talking to people saying that word because I hate it, because there is only one race. It is the human race. So you'll hear me break down many a times just the different cultures of life. How does your culture meet my culture, that stuff. But when it comes down to, the race, there is only one race. There's the love. There's agape love that we have, that we're supposed to have through Christ himself. So it's saying that.
I was gonna say, now saying that, how do you relate the love as far as crossing a barrier to biblical? Like, how does that make you feel spiritually? Because
I'm glad you say spiritually, because when it comes to the biblical part, I really don't.
No, we're not going down that rabbit hole. Stop. Nope. Reel it back.
The spiritual part of it, to me, is where the soul lock in. That's where, when we start talking about soulmates, that person that completes you.
And we've actually been told by people in the church that our marriage would not work out because we were unequally yoked because of the color of our skin.
But you can look at a yin-yang sign and see how that fits in with each other and just twirls around. It fits so well because they are equally yoked on that part. They were made to fit. And saying that, that's where it comes to us. We were made to fit as far as the souls, We met. How we met, we at first met through a line of communication. It wasn't face to face. It wasn't I met her or I saw her and we started talking. We met through a line of communication, so we hadn't seen each other, and we started talking through there. So I fell in love with the words. I fell in love with the passion of what was being told to me, what was illustrated in front of me, not what I saw. In the picture that I saw, I mean, we may show it later on in one of the marriage things that we do, but it was a blurred picture to where I really didn't get to see too much. So I was fine with it. Man, I knew what color she was, but at the same time, I really physically didn't know too much of her. So I fell in love with her accent. I fell in love with her mind, the character, the way she went at it spiritually. So, and that completed me. That made me feel great. And so when we finally did hook up, like a week later, I felt like I got a great bonus on that part, which I did. I mean, look at it. Yet saying that spiritually, it's about how you unite. You can't be a person that hollering holier than thou, going to church every Sunday, talking about God is Christ, talking about how much, you love the Lord. And then when it comes to turn around to your fellow people, of different cultures and stuff,
he brought that white devil home.
Shit, white devil, black bitch, or however you want to say it. Just is.
Ooh, I've been a white devil more than I can ever imagine.
Wasn't it with me?
No, it was not with you.
I mean, you've done some things that made me think. But yeah, when it comes to the spiritual part of it, I don't have any regrets or slack about where I'm at. I love where I'm at. I love how I'm moving, and I love what I'm doing when it comes to that.
Now, how do you feel about when, like, we had that statement where somebody told us that our marriage wasn't going to work because we were unequally yoked because of our color? So when they're referring biblically to you're unequally yoked because of that, what is your opinion? What's your thoughts on that?
I kind of didn't understand that, because I just felt like unequally yoked always was about your mental state, as far as how you were, as far as worshiping, and where were you on the status with the Lord, not because of your color and how you were set up. Like, because when we talk about, I won't go. Yeah. When we're talking about the Bible, predominantly all those people in the Bible were black.
Yes, they were.
So, I mean,
that's a conversation for another day.
I really don't have.
But we'll definitely get into that. Not that it matters, but we've also had a few hate messages about that as well. So.
Oh, that is a whole nother topic, but yeah.
This is smoked dumplings. I
want to ask you a question.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Because we get it a lot. And I say we, I speak as us people in the culture mixing thing a lot. So when people hit you up and say that you're a traitor, you're a traitor to the race.
Oh, I traded. Well, it depends on the mood that I'm in, because I got a real slick mouth. Yeah, sip it. So it depends on my mood. But, here's the thing. Back in biblical times, fathers gave their daughters away as peace offerings to the other tribes. And that was a sign of, let's bond, let's commune, let's break bread together.
Right.
And that was considered a very beautiful thing. Now, I don't feel like I traded. And it's the first time I was in high school and I was getting ready to go on to homecoming, and the person that had asked me to homecoming decided the day before, I think it was, or the day of, it was something like that, I don't know, so many years ago. They decided to tell me that they weren't going to take me to homecoming. And I ended up going to homecoming on my own and came back to school the following, and someone had asked me out, and he was black, and homecoming was white, so this gentleman was black. And I told him, I was like, yeah, we're going to go to movies and McDonald's. And we did. We went to movies and McDonald's, and I came back. There wasn't even a kiss on the cheek. Like, it was strictly just nothing. And came back to school, and the white guy who had told me that he was not going to go to homecoming with me now was like being nasty with me and was telling me, you're just a race traitor. That's why I didn't go with you anyway. And I was like, what are you talking about, trading races? Like, I didn't do it. It was McDonald's and a movie. And it really, like, that was my first experience of, and then, of course, it went all over the place. And I asked the people that I was associating with, I was like, did you hear a rumor, like, that something happened more than what had happened? And they were like, no, nothing was said other than you two had a great time. You went to the movies and went to McDonald's. And I'm like, and that made them that angry? Like, it was hurtful because I
feel like with men, it's a pride thing.
Well, yeah, and I could see that. I could see that now. I didn't see it then,
Right.
but I was like, you didn't want me, and somebody else showed interest, and I said yes.
It's always like that.
And
It's always
because,
like that.
and
You
because,
don't want me, but as soon as I find, someone that showed interest, and it just so happened that they're
and then they
of another culture,
attacked
is crazy.
it, and that's what they did. They attacked it. They attacked it racially, which I had. When you have those little breakups before, I had already, you experienced like the little name calling of the whatever between each other.
It just takes you out of the race thing. But
I'd never experienced the race thing,
right,
where somebody told me that I was trading my race in. I was trading on my people, and I was cross and bury, and I was like, what just happened?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was $1 a hamburger and French fry. So it's definitely it's hurtful. But now I'm like, I don't know which race. I haven't been told I traded races in a very long time. But now it would be like, I don't know which race you're talking about I traded, because I did a 23andMe. I got like 2% Nigerian. Don't play. I ain't trading nothing. But
to hear that from me is wild. It's like, I didn't trade anything. I look at it as I brought more to the table.
yeah,
I look at it as when we're talking about the separation, we're being divided in this country. We're being torn apart. I'm working on fixing the problem. I'm bringing people together. We're bringing families together. We're actually put in a position now to where we could sit down at a table and talk. And so, we don't look at each other in those harsh and crazy ways, because, we fixed it. We made it happen. So that's where I look at it as. And seeing people who are talking about the trade apart, and, you turn your back on us. You're the people that need the help. You're the people that I would consider being the problem, because, excuse me, I'm sorry, you're not taking the time to actually be human. You're not actually taking the time to, look within yourself to see what, the source God wants.
So I'm going to tell another little story that happened with us. And like I said, these are all true stories that if you're sitting back and you're like, I cannot believe this happened. Oh, it happened. Number one. And number two, these are things that people, I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. But we had there were some things that was going on, and somebody told my husband that it's a good thing he was with me, because wouldn't no black woman want him anyway. And I was standing there, I was floored. I'm like, and they proceeded on to say that, he wasn't about nothing. He didn't have anything to offer a good black woman to bring her up to beautiful levels. And they had went on and they had said some stuff, and I was pissed. He was like, Jen, I'm like, all right, I ain't gonna say nothing this time. So fast forwarding, some changes had happened in our lives, and they were beautiful, beautiful changes that had happened. And it was wonderful for us. And in that, my husband was able to take several stepping stones in not just one direction, but like he just went through the spectrum, taking stepping stones in great positive directions. And that same person came back and ridiculed him and was telling him, like, you know, how dare you, look at you, you have this, you have that, and you just wasted it away when you should have been with a black woman, making her empowered, but instead you traded and you went over there and you took. And I'm like, wait a minute, just X amount of time ago, you told him that I was the only thing he deserved, that he didn't deserve a strong, beautiful, powerful black woman. And now that he actually was working on his foundation and he was building and he was excelling and it was happening for him, then you told him he was trading because he didn't take a black woman with him.
It would be the part where it's just you're happy. When they actually see that you're not fighting, you're not crazy. And one of the biggest thing that we're not as black men, we're not running around with some 300-400 pound lady as the stigma goes. So I'm actually with a beautiful a beautiful woman here on that part. So that did make a lot of people mad. It does make, especially when you're a beautiful couple, it really makes people mad on that part. I mean, no doubt we have a lot of wonderful and beautiful friends that love us, that really encourage us, that tells us you guys are beautiful, you guys are a great couple, you are made for each other, you are, she is your rib, she is, and I am her breath, just those type of things. So those people, we love you.
Absolutely, we love you to the moon and back, and then some.
Thank you for being there for us. Yeah, this is more for those people who actually need the help in that department. I would tell anybody. And
this is also to if you've never experienced it, and this is your first interracial relationship, and somebody says something to you, this is also to give you encouragement that you're going to go through it. You're not alone. You can build. You can talk to each other. You can laugh about it and be like, "Did you hear that?"
We laughed about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It helps with your foundation. And if you're one of those people and you didn't realize that you were saying those things, and now you're reflecting back on things that you've said, and I'm not talking about to us, I'm talking about just to anybody, just in general, because sometimes people say things and then I start reflecting back and I'm like, ooh, I said something I shouldn't have said. So, this is just to kind of show you some of the things that get said to us in 2026.
With me, I'm just, the way I'm built in general, a lot of things that are said to me, I transmute it. I take that bad shit in and transmute it into something beautiful. Like, one of the things, you're not going to make it. It's not going to happen for you. So I work, I press, I make sure my relationship worked. I make sure that I give her the attention, and saying this, I'm the same. I've always been the same person. So, no pun to you. But no matter what relationship I was in, I was giving the same thing. I was giving me, and it may not been what someone needed or what someone wanted, but I was always giving me. And that's a key part on it. That when
it also goes back to power coupling, though, because it's about filling in those gaps.
When I actually got with you, though I was in the runnings, I wasn't up to par, and it wasn't something, it was something that affected the relationship, yet it affected the relationship to make it bond and to get stronger, not affected the relationship to make it.
But you also knew that I wanted to be with you because of who you were, who your heart was, where your mind was, and not what you had to offer me. And if you didn't offer that to me, then I was up for the next highest bidder.
Right.
So you knew where my heart was, and I knew where your heart was.
Right. So. And
we filled in a lot of, and it goes back to power coupling. We filled in a lot of cracks in our foundation with things that we were going through and building each other up to make each other. The game where where you're sitting on your back and you put your back to each other and then you come up. We had to do that. And just as you had been in, relationships before, as had I, and I didn't have that support. I didn't get that support at all. And so as much as I gave, it just felt like I just flowed out and I constantly gave, and I never had anybody who wanted to fill my gaps. And by the grace of God, I was sent you.
So if you're hearing this and this sounds like, oh, that's any relationship. You do this and it works, and you do this, it's supposed to work, and it is.
It is. It's any relationship.
There is.
His tan's just better than mine.
There is nothing any different. And the craziest thing is, I've had friends, and it was like I had friends come to me and tell me, say like, bruh, how you do it? I'm like, how you do what? And how do you talk to a white girl? I'm like, what? And like, I don't know where to start at. What would you go up there and say? How do you go up there and talk to them? Like, you go up there and talk to them like you talk to any other civilized woman. Hey, how you doing? I'm interested, those type of things. Soft words. That part. So it's no different. There isn't an added piece that you have to buy to make it work.
And so now I want to say something on that as well, because since I've grown older and I've been able to meet an array of people, and then of course we have social media, and I got to meet an array of people through social media, I have got some very country, redneck, backwoods black friends as well. So it's not even about how do I talk to this person because of the color of their skin. It's about, this is my interest. This is who I am.
Right.
I seen you from afar, and physically I thought, wow, what a beautiful person to get to know.
So,
Now, you get to know that person. Maybe they're a friend. Maybe they become a lover. But, and if you were approaching that person just on, 9 times out of 10, that is why you've even approached the person. 9 times out of 10, it's not a blind date. 9 times out of 10, you've seen someone from afar and you thought, what a beautiful person.
So,
wow, I love that.
Good. So I could see Father Time is, letting us know where we need to go with this. So I want to hit,
Yeah, go ahead.
Just closing with a very powerful question that, I know a lot of people need help with and want to know. When it comes down to being a parent of biracial children, especially when it comes to the part of you being a white mother of black children.
Wow. This subject actually puts tears in my eyes. It is very hurtful, and I don't mean to offend any black mother out there at all. And I am well aware of what color I am, so please understand that. But I would hear black women talk about their children and raising their children and raising their especially their sons, and it I didn't understand it. And to me, it was watching, well, why wasn't the father there? Why didn't this? Or why was your son out doing this? Why wasn't your son doing that? And it was it was more controversial once. It was my ignorance, because I didn't know. And then when I became a mother of a black child, things were a lot different. And a very, very dear friend of mine, and I love her to the moon and back, she seen me one time in the store, and she asked me, she said, whose baby do you got? And I said, oh, she's mine. And she looked at me weird, and she looked back at the baby and looked back at me, and she goes, no, whose baby is this? And I said, well, she's mine. She goes, but she's black. I said, I know, she's mine. Now, mind you, that was Amanda, and Amanda's skin was really super pale.
Right.
She had black features, but her actual skin tone was extremely, extremely pale. Now, that was my first experience of, and I don't want to use the term slap in the face, but that was my slap in the face that as
Your
much,
awakening.
My awakening. That is such a beautiful word for that. That was my awakening, that I was now a mother to black children. And time goes on and I have a son. And then time goes on and I have 4 black sons. And the thought that something, I'm going to cry. The thought that something could happen to them in a small town with the wrong person that has a badge or a gun, and I'm not saying an officer with a gun. I'm just saying, just in general,
just the typical stuff that we know in this world that black youth goes through. I mean, we're not going to sugarcoat it.
No, it was very. It was hard because now I had to teach my boys. Be careful. If you're in the vehicle with somebody, be careful who you're in the vehicle with. Make sure that if you get stopped by the police, that don't get mouthy, don't get hateful, don't get aggressive and want to show them. And
it felt real. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
It felt real weird to now be on that side.
I had to see a side that I never had that fear of. I didn't have that fear until I had 4 black men that I was raising, and that was a very real reality. And taking it a step further, there was when Trayvon Martin, poor baby, when that happened with him, that hit so hard. Because that could have been any one of my children. All kids nowadays wear a hoodie. All kids nowadays are walking. They got their earphones. They're jamming. They're not paying attention. They just wanted to go to the store and get some Skittles, whatever. They're just chilling, being kids. And it was so publicized. It was so publicized about why his life was taken. And I was in a conversation with a family member, and the family member did not understand. Now, mind you, this family member is raising white sons.
Right.
In a different environment.
Right.
And we ended up in a heated conversation about it because they couldn't understand the passion that I had. That just for the color of my child's skin, he could be taken away from me. And that's without even the extra of somebody in the back seat hollering and screaming, "What the hell are you doing this for?" And agitating. And now whoever's there, or God forbid, you just have some stupid people pull up next to you.
So what advice?
And they start.
So what advice would you give mothers looking for an answer to that, or mothers coming into that?
I would tell you to raise your children to be respectful.
Educate them.
Educate them. Educate them on respect. And I know that not everybody deserves respect because respect is earned.
But we teach our kids that.
But at the same time, have enough sense to know that even though you may not have earned my respect, I am going to keep my integrity intact.
And that's what we do. We teach our kids, no matter what the situation is, you keep your integrity, you keep your head about you. This is what we teach our kids. Black, white.
And our children are not in danger. Our children are not in danger. But we had to teach them.
So, we teach them that part of, keep your integrity, keep your head right. And if there's any big issues that need to be taken care of, we as your parents will take care of it. That's what that is taught, should be taught across the board, no matter what color your child is. Let the adults handle the problem, listen, just abide. And as long as someone is not threatening your life at that moment, you just do what you need to do so you can make it home safely on that part.
We want you to come home. And, and if you are, when you're raising your children, like I said, I'm stuttering because it's a hard subject for me to think that I could lose a child just because of that. And, be mindful that if you're somebody who is really dealing with emotional issues within yourself, be careful. Be careful of your anger and aggression, because you also don't know the anger and aggression that you could meet out in public. That with your anger and aggression or their anger and aggression, those two get together, it's like a volcano exploding. Right. And it won't be good. And that could be an episode where somebody is no longer with us anymore, all because of a silly misunderstanding and anger and aggression. So
time has allotted us yet. What I'm gonna close today on and say is, whatever you feel like doing, whatever moves you, do it. Don't think about anybody else. Don't think about what someone else is thinking. Don't think about what type of move the next person moves. Because I actually have known people, mostly women, that wait to get into their later years, in their 60s and stuff like that, then start to want to move over on the side. I've seen it. Which, no, don't waste your life and your time that way. Do what you want to do. Get out, experience life, experience love, experience that agape, and let's get this world united and stop the division as we need to. So, with that in closing, Cat's letting us know the mosquitoes out here biting too. So. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Glass Half Full with Ty and Jen.
I hope y'all got something out of it. I hope y'all learned something out of it.
And this will continue on. If you have any questions or anything that you would like us to touch on when we come back to part 2 of this, just let us know down in the comments. And we're good.
All right.
Awesome. Peace.
Bye.
Have a good night.